When I was growing up, we went to church a bit, but it was kind of like a backseat thing. My family was raised Baptist, but I we just didn't have time, I guess, at that point. Like, people were always working and everything. So I had like a relationship to Christianity, but it was kind of like hearing about it. And I also did have a really interesting experience of like growing up listening to like VeggieTales and The Pond and Adventures of Odyssey, so all these like Christian like kids media. And that was always something like really positive that instilled in me. But then after I was around a teenager, I kind of just stopped like having any interest in it.
Growing up, I was baptized as a Roman Catholic probably like 3 weeks after I was born. My family has a rich history of Catholicism. And so I made my first communion in the Catholic Church. And right about that same time, my parents divorced and the church refused my mom communion. And my mom basically said, you don't have to keep going to church if you don't want to. I lost my faith for a long time, and maybe I'm still looking for it. But the next time I was in a pew was basic training, and then after that it was Our Savior. So really not a whole lot of church experience, despite like a deep Roman Catholic culture growing up.
When we first moved to Augusta, we did a lot of community organizing, and there I met my friend Greg, and Greg was going to this church at Our Savior. And it was really something for us to like go into the community more. We thought if we want to do some community organizing, we can do it here at a church. And at the time I was kind of like, about church, I didn't really have any like feelings towards it, but I really liked the ritual. I really liked the routine. I really like the atmosphere, and how much people at this church embraced me from the start, and how much community organizing that we still do through the church. And that was really important to me. I think like being at church is like a lot more coordinated space, and you already have people there. Like, you already have a group of people committed to doing one task. So when I came here, there was already a food feeding program down at the Billsby Center. And so I could just kind of slide into it and start up with that. I think when you're starting from the bottom and starting from like, oh, you're making this thing on your own, it's a lot of work to get people together, get people who are reliable to do it. And when you have a community that's already like really wide branching, because, you know, I think throughout the diocese, we all like kind of work together. You have like just a big network of people to work with. And I think that's something that I was able to do before, but not as effectively, not as fluidly. I wasn't able to go and like, you know, start a food program by myself and maintain it with efficiency as long as I would have if I wasn't in church, if that makes sense.
I bother coming to church on Sunday because really I think of the people in church as like adopted family. So the elders at church, those are my parents and my grandparents, and my peers I think of as siblings. And so I come for the shared communion. You know, it's really nice to take part in something larger than yourself and to be involved in community. And that I love the ritual of church on Sunday. I walk into it and it's so different from the rest of the world. And that matters. It's a place to meditate, to contemplate, and it's fulfilling in a way that's a little bit indescribable for me. If people ask me why I go to church or why I participate in church, which no one does, by the way, but you know, I tell them anyway. And it's the community. You know, everyone needs community. And when I reflect on coming to church and on this community, which has, you know, graciously welcomed me in, and been accepting and affirming of everything I've brought. I wish that for everybody. And so for me, it's not difficult to explain to people why I go to church. And really, I think I'm doing them a favor, because if they could be a part of this community that I'm a part of, I know their lives would be better.
One of the things that I don't think I would have done without church, because I wouldn't have known about it, is going on the Racial Justice Georgia trip. It was a pilgrimage to Jonathan Daniels, who was a civil rights activist in Alabama. And every year they go up and they go to Alabama, and it's a really fun time. It's a time to kind of celebrate the lives of the people who were martyred there, and also kind of just explore and walk the same paths that they were. So that's something I wouldn't have known about, and I wouldn't have been able to be exposed to. We were able to go to the Equal Justice Initiative. It was really fun. We went to the museums. It was so informative. It was a life-changing experience, and that's something I just would have had no clue that it existed, really, without being here.
Serving on the vestry is a rewarding experience to see sort of the organizing behind the scenes of the church, what it takes to run, what the budget's like. It's actually a lot bigger of a time commitment than they lead you to believe. But that's okay. It's a space where you can take on as much or as little as you want, just like every other part of the church. Right? Anybody can do almost anything. I really like that about the Episcopal faith. They seem welcome for labor. They don't seem to necessarily, turn people down because this is the way it was. They seem to welcome my perspective as a younger person on the vestry, which is nice. And I think overall it's been a positive experience. And I recommend it to everybody to do. Everybody should have at least one hardship tour on the vestry.